board meeting held on June the 11th at 4 o'clock. We better have a roll call. Who's here? Lynn Hobbs, board member.
Teresa Olson, board member.
Brian Marchant, business manager.
Jill Lowe, principal.
Alex Garrett, assistant principal.
Kylie Corbett, school counselor.
Okay. Okay, well, let's get started then. We welcome everyone here. Let's go over the counseling department date and that thing. So I guess, Kylie, you've got that?
Yes, and thank you, Alex, for pulling this up. So I guess we can move to the next slide. So kind of to start out with the beginning of the school year, we had our state review. And so every counseling department in the state of Utah goes and has essentially review every 6 years. And so this was the year for us to have a review. And the state gave us really great feedback. They said we're doing a phenomenal job at helping students with dropout prevention, which is really good news to hear, right? Because that's kind of the nature of our school, is helping students who are credit deficient, who maybe aren't on track to graduate. And so they really praised us for that. And then just some things that they gave us some feedback on for growth was simply to have parent surveys and student surveys to get feedback on how the counseling department is doing and how we can better serve our community. And so that's something we immediately implemented, and we also are going to move forward each year and also implement a student and a parent survey to get feedback. So we did pass our review, which was really exciting, and we don't have to do it for another 6 years, which is also exciting. We can go to the next slide.
Okay.
So I kind of wanted to touch on pathway completers. This school year, we had one freshman who earned a pathway certificate, and then we had 2 sophomores, 5 juniors, and then we had 9 seniors. And that being said, I just wanted to note that all of these individuals who earned a pathway completer, 100% of the seniors graduated, and then 100% of those juniors are on track to graduate, as well as the sophomores and the freshmen. And so those who are pursuing our CTE pathways, it's just a phenomenal program, and it keeps kids motivated, and it gives them a purpose to come to school. And so that's just something that I wanted to note there. We can go to the next slide. Something that we tried to implement this year as a school counseling team is a kind of a pilot program, and we called this program Progress and Go. Something that we noticed is we have students who sometimes struggle with attending school, right? And we wanted to find a way or a balance to motivate students to come and earn the appropriate credit they needed in order to either get on track to graduate or remain on track to graduate. And so essentially what this program entailed is students would come to school at a specific time, and they would take online classes, and they would have an instructor of sorts oversee those online classes, but they were only focusing on one online class at a time. So essentially, we wanted students to complete an online class, one of them every 2 weeks. And that would allow them to earn the 1.5 credit they would earn in any given term. So we had a few students start out 5th term, and then we had another group of students start out 6th term. And so if you go to the next slide, I provided a graph. We did have one student who chose to withdraw from the program. They had decided that they actually enjoyed in-person classes, and the length of person classes more. But it was really cool because we had a lot of students, earn more credit than they would have earned in just
Oh,
taking their generic classes in each given term. So for example, student A, they started out with us fifth and sixth term, and they earned 3.5 credits, whereas they
wow.
would have just earned 3 credits if they came and attended all of their classes, like any typical student at Fast Forward, which was kind of cool because they got to go at their own pace. So they would complete classes faster than the 2 weeks we allotted them to finish an online course. We did have 2 students who participated in the program starting term 5, and it didn't really work out for them. It wasn't their jam. Again, this was just kind of a pilot program. We wanted to see if it's something we wanted to implement again next year and test it out. And this is kind of the data associated with all of that. So we did do our data project this year. The state asks that every school counseling team does a data project. And so our data project this year is we really wanted to focus in on Friday attendance. And as you guys are aware, our Fridays look different than most schools. If a student is failing or not on track to graduate, so if they're failing any of their classes and not on track to graduate, they're required to be here at school. And we really wanted to increase Friday attendance. And so we had lots of conversations with teachers about having conversations with students. We had our student center helping us call home throughout the week and letting parents know that their student was required to come to school on Friday. We really just made a big push for it. And then on top of that, we used a tracker of sorts where students would sign in and let us know why they were attending Friday school, whether it was just because they wanted makeup and support, whether they were coming in to do a PCBL project, which is a project students can come in and do with a teacher and other students, and it gives them credit in various subjects. So for example, we had some teachers get together and they would do like I'm trying to think of a good example of one right now. But there were a lot of fun projects that they did, and multiple subjects were tied to them. But if you go to the next slide, there's some data kind of associated with our Friday attendance. And I just wanted to note that as we compared it to last year's Friday attendance, we had a 50.97 increase in
Wow.
Friday attendance this year, which was huge. It was really cool to see that most of those students simply came for makeup and support. And so that was them coming in on their own after being either prompted by a teacher or having a phone call with a parent, or them just alone knowing, hey, I'm failing a class and I'm behind, I'm not on track to graduate, I have to come to school. And so really we just wanted to ensure that our Fridays and the use of our Fridays were being effective. And after kind of going through this data project, we can confirm that our Fridays are effective and it works great for our students.
Well, that's tremendous. That's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very. Yeah, I guess I'm sure you're planning on that in the future too.
Yes, we're hoping for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I think it looks great.
Cool. If you go to the next slide, I just wanted to highlight our valedictorian. For those who are at graduation, they probably already heard, but outside of even the Fast Forward scholarships that we provide to our students, this individual earned multiple scholarships across the board, just because they put in the effort. They took a lot of concurrent enrollment classes. And they had lots of help from our student center and other teachers and individuals within the building to help them be successful. And so this student is going to USU this fall without having to pay a dime. And that's pretty exciting.
Wow.
Because this given student also has faced a lot of challenges in their life, and they'll be a first generation college student, and they're paving the path for their family. And so I just wanted to highlight our valedictorian because it's pretty awesome that we have students like this individual coming out of Fast Forward and doing great things for their future.
Wonderful.
So I wanted to briefly talk about UScience because I'm going to introduce what our data project is going to be for next school year as a counseling team. For those of you who don't know what UScience is, it's kind of like an aptitude test that students take. And it will match them with careers that are kind of associated with how their brain works. And so the students have to take aptitude tests, but then on top of the aptitude test, they will take some brain games. And most of the brain games are about 15 minutes a piece, and there's about 12 to 15 brain games. And essentially, again, at the end, it'll match a student to careers that are associated with how their brain works, their interests, and maybe their given ideal of income. So if you go to the next slide, once a student completes UScience, something like this will pop up on the screen. It'll kind of give the student an overview of it'll highlight what they're really good at. So for example, this one says, Rachel, you crushed it. You're an investigator. And it kind of tells the individual why. And then if you go to the next slide, and this is kind of a little blurry, I apologize, but there will be careers associated again with how that student's brain works. And you can even filter it and set your location so for example, a student could say they're in the Cache Valley area, and it'll even kind of associate careers within the Cache Valley area that are geared towards that student's interest, which I think is phenomenal. So if you go to the next slide, this is kind of our data project for next year. We really want all of our students to complete UScience because our hopes is that it'll also drive students taking more CTE courses here at Fast Forward. And we know that taking CTE courses can help students' graduation rates and being on track to graduate. And so ideally, we would like 70% of our students to complete the UScience assessment. And what we'll essentially be looking at is the difference in the amount of students who choose to attend Bridgerland next year in comparison to this year, the amount of students who apply for scholarships and FAFSA, and simply have more so career goals after high school. And so our hopes is to first really target our seniors at the beginning of the school year, but we are working with our student center, and they're going to help us try and get most, if not all of our students finished with the UScience assessment. So students can just have an idea of what they're good at and what opportunities are out there for them.
So do you have I guess you have a pre and a post interview with each student, is that correct?
Yes, yeah. Anytime a student comes here to Fast Forward, it's pretty fun. We get to do an intake assessment, and we get to learn all about that student and what their interests are. And sometimes students don't know what their interests are, right? Right off the bat, they're feeling
Yeah.
really overwhelmed because they don't think they're going to graduate high school. And so that's the thing that's at the forefront of their mind. And when we can get a student in a position to think more long term, I truly believe they'll be in a better position to want to put in the effort to come to school and to graduate high school, and to do well in their classes when they have a goal in mind. And so after students complete U Science, us as counselors will have one-on-one conversations with students about their results. And then we want to create a plan on what that student can do to work towards the given careers that either they were matched with or work towards careers that they're of interest in. And we do that now with our PCCR forms.
Yeah.
But we really hope this will kind of drive and motivate our students and create a culture of planning for life after high school.
I think that's important. I really like that. I think that's tremendous what you're doing. I, I talk to kids all the time, when I had my business and they'd think, well, I want to be a teacher or something. Then when they got and go to try it, they had no interest in it or they wouldn't get at it. And to have this where they're going to be best at, whether it's college or learning a trade, I think that's just a great thing for these kids.
I agree. Is this unique to Thomas Edison? I mean, to Fast Forward. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Is this U Science program unique to Fast Forward or other schools using it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Other schools in the Valley are using it. I would say some more than others. Um, Us as counselors, we have the opportunity to attend Cache County's school counseling meetings.
Mhm.
Say it's pretty 50-50 in the Valley. Some schools really love this U Science program and have found awesome results from implementing it within their school, and some haven't prioritized it as much. But in talking to the counselors in the Valley that have utilized U Science, they said it just really drives their conversations when they meet with students about life after high school and what that could look like for them. And if anything, it gets students thinking, right? As you do the aptitude test, something that I really enjoy and love. I've taken it, I think, 3 times now myself. But I can never see myself being like an accountant or a CPA, but every time that's what I get matched with. And my brain does kind of work in numbers. And I appreciate knowing that though, because it helps me see how my brain works. And it also takes my interests into account. So there's certain matches, it'll say, here's like an aptitude fit with how your brain works. Here's an aptitude fit with how your brain works and your interests. And I do get school counselor and teacher and stuff of that nature when it matches my interests and how my brain works. And then there's simply interest just with the students' interests, and it doesn't account how their brain works. And so it's just good knowledge for the students to see. And something that I love too is it's never going to be the software in the program isn't going to be negative. It only highlights the positive with the given students. And so it really just says, hey, this is your strength, which I love. It's not going to send and give a student a report on you didn't do good on the math section or the matching section, right? It's just like, hey, you were really good at this section, which I really love.
I like that too. And
Yeah.
I like that it gives them, as you said, something to look forward to after school instead of just, oh, let's get through 12th grade and we're done, because that's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That's all I had from the counseling department and our end of things. But if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer questions as well.
I just think it's great what you're doing, Kylie. I really do. I think these kids need it more than ever.
I agree.
Thanks.
Yep. Kudos to you. You're doing great.
Thank you.
It's nice to have people in those positions there that love what they do, and it just comes out in the work that you accomplish. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for supporting Fast Forward. We have great support. So, and a great team. It makes it easy and fun.
Okay.
And I'd like to shout Kylie real quick. So she is a first year counselor, was finishing her master's at the beginning of the school, juggling all that, and she's really knocked it out of the park. She's been an awesome addition to our counseling department, and so, you know,
Well, it's
big
easy to
big shout
see.
out to her.
Thank you, Kylie.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is I guess we get to go into a lot of financial and budget, and it looks like, Ryan, you're up
Okay.
until you're done, and then it'll be Jill's turn. So you're on.
Well, I'm not as pleasant as Kylie, so if we can get her back to do the financials, then that would be just top notch. Okay, so we're gonna kind of spin through this fairly quickly. I wish we had one more for a quorum because we do have several voting items, and I know in the past we have had Alex send it up for a vote. Alex, are you prepared to do that again?
Yeah, we can do that. I'm gonna text Hannah real quick and just see if she's available to jump on.
All right.
So I'll do that, but yes, if we need to, we
Okay.
can send it out for vote.
Well, while you're texting her to see what we can do and figure out a resolution there, and maybe we can send out the recording too, so that people can review the part that where we talk about it. But the first part, I'm just going to spend just a fraction of a moment on, and that is our our actual budget report. We just reviewed one of these a month ago. Lynn and I talked about it in our prior meeting. Not a lot, honestly, has changed since the last time we reviewed it a month ago. So the financial looks good. We have overspent our budget, but we've also received more revenue than we budgeted as well by about $438,000. So, but we are over budget, so we do need to come back and approve a new FY25 final budget, which I believe is the next agenda item. So I'm just kind of prepping you for the next item that we had a very successful year. We picked up some portables. We spent about $900,000 in capitals, money well spent. We're really gearing up for another successful year next year. But I just want everybody to know all the financial stuff is here if you want to look at it. Maybe we can just go down to the graph page real quick, Alex, if you wouldn't mind. Right there, we can just spend a moment on that. Look at the cash balances. The main thing I want to look at is the October head count, or the head count that we have is about 514. And our funding worksheet for next year is based upon that number. It's not quite 514. I think it's 460 something was our ADM. So anyway, yeah, we had a good year. Lynn's had a look at it. Hopefully all the board members have had a chance to look at it and know kind of where we are going into the next fiscal year that starts on July 1 for us. We're in a really good position. So again, you can review that. There's a lot there. There's probably about 20 pages worth of material just in that financial statement that you can look at if you want to look at it. So then again, we're always open for questions. Okay. No questions. We can go to the next item, Alex. Okay, Alex, why don't you just scroll down all the way down to the bottom where we get to our final number there. Let's just get to the answer. As you can see here, I'm building our budget based upon our actual, which is this will tie exactly to our financial statements. So in other words, the total expense, the 5.431202 is exactly what was in the financial statement that you just reviewed. And then the net income of the 21,434. So that's everything that we just looked at. Those are our actuals as of the end of May. We're about 11 days into June, so we have had some expenses in June, and so we do have some additional expenditures that we will have between now and the end of June. And then, of course, as a depreciation number comes into play, once we convert our books to GAAP, we have to account for that as well. So you can see the total spend, once you include what we've expended thus far, the 5.4 plus the June 25 spending of approximately 400,000, the payroll accrual, which we have to do every year, which accounts for the payroll that we've incurred the expense for, but we won't actually pay until July and August, is about $400,000, and then a $200,000 depreciation number. So this gives us more than enough cushion. The reason that we have to approve a budget that's above, because we've already outspent our original budget. As you can see, their original budget was $4.5 million. We're already through that by quite a margin. We have a finding in our audit, and the state, we're actually, we're not within state law if we overexpend a budget that wasn't approved by the board. So every year we do come back. So for the total FY25 budget that we're showing here, I'm proposing a $6.4 million essentially budget to be approved by the board, so that we won't run into any problems once we end our fiscal year that ends the end of this month. So does anybody have questions how I build into that number? We've kind of done this the last several years, and I like this method, and I think the board does too, because it shows exactly where we've come from and kind of where we're headed. Granted, we're quite a margin above where we thought we were going to be. A lot of it has to do with the almost $1 million in capitals that we've spent. Plus, we had some additional expenses that we put in there. So, any questions from board members?
I don't have any.
Nope.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, that is something that we need to vote on. I guess we'll just need to send this one out.
So
Have we held a vote in the past? And I guess the two members can go on record as voting, and then, okay, let's do that.
Teresa and Lynn would vote. Then in the item, I'll put that they vote whatever their vote was for the item, so the other members can see. And then the others will just come in as well.
Okay.
And I talked to Hannah. It's her anniversary, and so she's not available. So
Okay. We need a motion to redo our budget, for our final budget for this year of 25 budget of $6,431,202.07. Do I have a motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Okay, I'll second it. And I guess, Alex, you will get us another one or two so that'll be approved. Correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay. All
Perfect.
right. Brian?
I think the next agenda item is our original FY25 budget. So again, Alex, let's just maybe kind of, we try to put as much detail on here, and I sometimes I wonder how people feel about it, with having their face so blindly put in front of the world. But I guess that's kind of the world that we live in. If we ever wanted to do it someone else, I guess we could do it that way. But anyway, having said that, if you just want to, hopefully the board's had a chance to look at this. The vast majority of our expense is wage and then benefits. So that's probably 60% plus of our budget. So study that. Just know that every dollar that when we sign contracts and when we meet with employees, on some level, we do negotiate, but our hands are also tied. Those numbers are also very well thought about as far as tying those back to what a competitive wage is in the Valley. And our employees know, just in some cases better than we do, what that is. But we try to make it fair as we possibly can. And we know that we have to, there's a shortage of labor out there. It maybe isn't as bad as it has been in the past, but nonetheless, and that's good for the employees, I think, in a lot of ways. Teachers' salaries have gone up over the years. And so has administrators' salaries, and you can just see salaries have gone up. So we also participate in the state retirement fund, and that's a big number for us, and our health insurance. Last year, we started a program, and some of our employees were very thankful for this. But if you've been a full-time employee of Fast Forward for more than 15 years continuously, then your health insurance is paid for, which is a big deal. But again, it's to retain some of those more seasoned employees and try to reward them a little bit because frankly, we went through a lot of years of lean, and they did make some sacrifices for us. And so I think as a board, generally, we talked about it and we wanted to reward people for their tenure at Fast Forward. And that was one way that we thought we could do that. It is fairly expensive, but I think at this point, it's well appreciated and well received. So I just want to make the board aware of some of those things that we're doing that are unique. Kind of below the line there of salary and wage, you just kind of see the other expenses that we have that frankly aren't a lot compared to our wages and our salaries benefits. And then even when you get down to our mortgage payment, which is $13,000 a month, it's about 2% of our budget. So, it's not like facility and interest payments and mortgage facility costs are taking a lot of our budget. In fact, it gets to be less and less every year as funding comes up from the state. So, having said all that, total FY25 budget is 5,165,612 with a net income of about 900,000. Can you scroll up one more page, Alex? Yeah. So it looks like we have about a $960,000 net income, give or take. So, the facility that we paid for this year, that was paid for out of earnings, essentially. So this year we're gonna, barring we don't have any major expenses, we will have some stuff, of course. I think we're planning on putting some fencing up. Jill has some other summer projects, but nothing on the level of what we did last year with our facilities. We'll probably maybe come up with, as our cash builds over this year, we'll probably come up with some additional things that would be beneficial for the school. We don't know what that is yet, but I think between, Jill, Alex, and of course, board members, we'll come up with something that I think that'll be beneficial to the students, to the community, stuff like that. So we need to think about that because, if we can stay kind of in this range of operation, then we can really start adding to some of the things that we want to do. But having said that, I think that right now we just want to build some of that cash back up from our facility build out that we did. And then maybe, like I said, early 2026, springtime, start maybe looking at some additional something perhaps. So anyway, the point of all that is this is the proposed original budget for FY26 that we need to have proposed of spending of $5,165,612. Alex, scroll down to the very bottom there. On there, I think I showed the funding. Well, never mind. I'm just going to show you. I showed the legislative estimates. Go up to the revenue portion real quick. Yeah, right there. So you see the number that's highlighted in yellow, the 5,962,433. That number comes from our legislative estimate that is also included in here. You kind of have to hunt to find it, but it's there. So that number is based upon what the state, this year's ADM. So they kind of estimate that. And that number flows through until about November, December-ish. And then it'll move a little bit, but frankly, not much unless we have a huge bump in enrollment starting on October 1, which I don't really anticipate. I think will be probably 5, wouldn't you think, Jill, Alex, probably 515, 5, something like that. So anyway, I project that number to be pretty steady through the year. So I don't see our revenue number moving much. So anyway, just wanted to give you that information on the revenue side. And then the budget number that you have there at the end, the original, and then just kind of the approval that we need for this FY25, or that says FY25. Sorry, I should change that. It's total FY26 budget.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So we need to vote on the 25-26 school year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
25 of $5,165,612. Do we have a motion to accept that?
I will make a motion to accept that.
And I will second it. So I guess you'll get approval on the others, so we have that.
Yep.
Okay.
we've come a long way. That's a big number. Our first budget, I think, was like $200,000 max, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really? Oh
we've
my
come a
Well,
long
God.
way.
but look how many more lives we've blessed. That's what I look at.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you just have to come to our graduation to know that.
Speaking of graduation, Jill and Alex and all of you out there, that was just I thought that was just an outstanding graduation. I don't know why, but it really touched me. It was well organized, well done, perfect. Thank you.
I do
Okay,
love our graduations up there. Okay.
yep,
Oh, audit committee
audit committee.
responsibilities. And okay, do you want to go to that? Just yes, right here. This section, the R277113-4. So basically, we reviewed this last year. The long and short of this is essentially that we need a audit committee, and that it is a functioning audit committee. And it kind of gives you some of the things that we need to talk about, some of the things that we do. One of the things is that if there's any findings that we have in our annual audit, we need to head it up and make sure that there's corrections and that we're figuring that out, that we're meeting, and that we have a formal committee that's been elected, and that's what we're here to do today. And they work with external auditors. We review the audit before we bring it to the board. We review the financial statement. I can actually say Lynn and I have met, I think, before every board meeting for
Yeah.
at least 30 minutes to discuss so we do have a functioning audit committee meeting, and we do talk about these things before we present them to the board. So having said that, that's what the audit committee is supposed to do. But then we also, according to section 53G 7402, we also have to elect new member, or not new members, but we have to either elect new members or re-ratify the ones that we currently have on the board. We talked about this in our audit committee meeting beforehand, and Lynn and I feel, unless the board feels differently, that we can probably just have Lynn on that board again. And myself, I guess. I don't know if I need to be elected. Probably not. But just as Lynn being the representative from the board to be on that audit committee.
Any questions?
None from me.
Well, I guess, uh, would you feel that Ryan and I continue in those positions?
I would like that to happen.
Okay, I'll second it. I guess we got to have another one. So there you go, Alex.
Alex has got a little work to do after this meeting.
Okay, our next agenda item, I believe, is, I better get it. Okay, we've got the final budget.
It's the time and
Okay,
effort policy.
preliminary
Yes.
audit. Oh, this is the time and effort policy.
Yes. So we did reach. I actually had to reach out to the state, and I had about May in the first part of May, I had about a 20-minute, 30-minute conversation with someone at the state trying to get this right. And they helped me, kind of gave me some pretty good suggestions on this. So having said that, this is what you're looking at here is what came out of that meeting. Essentially, we were pretty close with our original. So our first one that we've had for a long time needed to be updated in a pretty significant manner. I made the best effort that we possibly could, and the state still wanted to see some additional changes to it. And that's what led to that 30-minute phone call that we had with them. And this was kind of the brainchild that came out of that. So they do want us to approve it by the board so that we can send it back into the state. And I like it because it gives us, it's more in line with what the current rules and board rules are with the state and what they require for time and effort. I can tell you that Kathy's probably the main person that does time and effort at Fast Forward is Kathy. She's our SPED director. And I can tell you, she's actually doing probably more than what's in our policy here, meaning that she probably even documents it further than this. But This gives us some flexibility to do electronic records and signatures, which is nice, which we didn't have in the past. Which so now we can just do most of our stuff electronically. Um, if people serve, Lynn had a question if employees work in SPED, but then they also work part-time in a different position in the school, then does our policy look at, show that they work in two separate areas? And the answer is yes.
And I don't think, Ryan, we have anyone in that capacity right now.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I was letting Lynn know. I thought most everybody was full time. So, Alex, you want to scroll down to the next page? Audit compliance, we got to make sure that's there for audit and retention of records. And then it just has several references. So it's a pretty simple policy, really. The point of all of this is because when you're receiving special ed funding that's pretty restrictive, when you're receiving Title I funding that's restricted to those policies and that particular funding account, there needs to be a record of the time on the person that was spent there and what percentage of their time is allocated to that in order to receive that reimbursement. So that's why we have this. And the state does, frankly, look at this pretty hard when they come in and do special ed audits, when they do our Title I audits. They want to make sure that you're following your time and effort policy. It's a big deal. So we want to make sure that we are in compliance with how they want to have us do it. And I can tell you, as far as I can tell, at Fast Forward, we are definitely doing that currently. So this is just more cleaning it up to make it more in compliance with what they would like to see. But we've been doing this for a long time. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the time and effort policy for Fast Forward High School?
I'll make that motion to accept the time and effort policy that Ryan has described to us.
I will second that. Is there, I guess there's no one opposed because there's two of us.
That's unanimous.
Yeah, so Alex will allow you to take care of the rest. So,
Perfect.
okay, our next item on the agenda is, I guess, the fraud risk assessment.
Fraud risk assessment. Yeah. So we do this every year again. It's something that we just need to have so that we can upload it to the state auditor's webpage and be in compliance with what the state auditor requires us to do. And the long and short of this essentially is it asks a series of questions to determine risk. And what is your risk for fraud? And we actually score 355 out of 395, which puts us in the very low risk. So, having gone through this and having kind of thought about it, especially over the last couple of years, I think the one area that we cleaned up, we did need to, and so that bumped us up into a little bit higher area. We don't have question number 8 says, does the entity have a formal internal audit function? We don't have a formal function for internal audit. What we do is on our webpage, we promote the fraud internal audit hotline at the State Office of Education. So people can always call there. I know if you're a bigger district, you're going to have an internal audit function, but we're just not simply big enough to do that. So anyway, you can scroll down to the next page as well, Alex. That just kind of shows our score. This kind of asks a series of questions too, which are really informative as to, are you doing these segregations of duties? Is one person, really doing all of the things? And over the years, we've gotten better at doing this. We've kind of had to do it just so that we do score higher on this. And then we weren't such a red flag. I think at one point I was probably too involved in a lot of these things. And for a lot of years, I did a lot of these things, and it's been helpful to have someone up at Fast Forward. Her name is Kristen, and she does all of our a lot of our accounting up there. Really, she does. She has her own access to QuickBooks, I mean, of course, I review all that and go through all that and make changes as needed, but it's nice to have someone up there that can do a lot of these duties and perform these duties, and then I'll do on my side so that I'm always watching what she's doing, and it's just a good separation of duties. And even with payroll, like we have 3 or 4 people involved in our payroll process, which is really good, especially for a small charter school like us. So I feel confident in telling you, and Jill can probably speak to this if she didn't feel comfortable with me saying it, but I feel confident that we have a pretty good internal segregation of
Process.
duties. And yeah, we're pretty low on our risk for fraud. It's not to say that it wouldn't happen, but I think we've got a pretty low risk. So I do think we need to vote on, well, is this voting? I don't know if we do need
No,
to vote
this
on
is
this one.
not.
I think this is just more information only.
Yeah. Okay, I guess our next item on is the legislature estimates.
Yeah, we can. This ties back to our original budget for FY26. You can see there at the bottom that number, that 5 point. This is for fast forward, and it shows what our estimates are and the line items that we have for each one. I will just kind of point out, um, our special ed funding has gone up pretty significantly. I'm trying to look for that number. I'm trying to find that number on there. Uh, Special ed add-on. Oh, right there. 300. What is that number? Is that 182,000? Can you zoom in on that
Sorry,
one,
so the
Alex? I
special ed
can't
one I
see
think is
her.
461.
I'm surprised at that. Oh yeah, okay, okay. I'm looking at CTE. Sorry, I couldn't see that. My eyes are getting bad. I just noticed that. I need readers. So I
You're
can see
not
this a
alone.
lot. I can see this a lot better. Yeah, I'm getting old. Okay, so 461. Our sped funding has gone up quite a bit. We did have one year. It was about a year ago that our funding went from 200,000 to $500,000. We had a hard time spending all that money. In fact, we had a fairly significant carryover because we just simply couldn't spend all that money. And there might be a chance if they came in and did a review that we'd have to, because it was over the 20% threshold, we might even have to cut a check back. I mean, it wouldn't be a huge amount to the state because we just had so much sped funding that we couldn't even spend. We had, I think Jill probably remembers this. We had like an ad going constantly for sped and we couldn't even hire for it. It was crazy. So our sped funding has jumped up quite a bit. They did put a provision in the law last year that 30% of our restricted funding, so meaning 35% of our special education dollars, can be reallocated to other programs throughout the school, which is good. We probably end up using some of that this year. I know that's been actually really popular, but maybe not so much in some circles with special education. But the state has given us that flexibility to do that. So anyway, the legislative estimate, I just wanted to show you that because it ties back to the budget that we originally approved. I just wanted to show you the kind of the proof there behind the revenue. So we don't need to vote. This is more just informative.
Okay. Okay, Jill, I guess it's your time to report.
Okie dokie. Thank you for coming to graduation. It was a huge success. I sure appreciate all of my office help and our counselors that helped so much during graduation. Coley, um, obviously Alex, and especially Kelly, our our front office manager. She is amazing and she helps everything run smoothly, coordinates everything, and just does a great job. So it was great. It was a great success. Thank you for coming. I had a little highlight I wanted to share. I have a calling at church. Sorry to share this during a board meeting, but I have a calling at church and it's the stake education mentor. And it's kind of like it's a pilot program. And anyway, so I had someone from my group text me and said they were at the transition conference I'm going to share the message. They were at the Transition Institute for Special Ed, and our special ed team was being honored from the state and for helping students with disabilities access employment and post-secondary education. So it was pretty cool
Oh, that
from the
is.
state.
Oh,
Yeah, for the
cool.
state to be honoring us, it was really cool. Anyway, anyway, that person just reached out to me with that. So that's kind of something fun I wanted to share. And our special ed department are all rock stars and they work really hard to keep things running smoothly. And Ryan and I never, ever, ever have to worry about making sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And anyway, so I just wanted to give you guys that little heads up or that little information. I wanted to pass that on because that's pretty exciting. They work really hard to make sure everything's running smoothly. And even so, the state recognizes
Wow.
what rock stars they are. So yeah. We're just getting ready to finish up our last week of summer school. Summer schools for students that are behind, of course. And Alex is doing a pretty cool outdoor program, and he takes the kids hiking. They do a lot of English and social studies work, combined with outdoor hands-on activities. And then we also have the in the school building group of kids that come in and just do credit recovery. And it's pretty big success with our students every year. So we're just finishing that up. Next week they'll be at Summerfest, kind of finishing up that learning experience. So if you go to Summerfest, we always have a booth there for our fast forward kids. Stop by and say hi. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's kind of all the updates I've got. Alex, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that pretty much took care of it. It was really cool to see all you board members at our senior night as well. That was a
Oh,
lot of fun
yes.
to,
Yeah.
like the only
Oh,
one we were missing was Rich, and so that was really cool.
That was nice.
that
Yeah.
was fun. It was fun to be there.
Yeah. It was fun. Again, Kelly puts all that together and does a heck of a job. She's such an asset to our team. But yeah, thanks for attending that. But I think that's kind of all we've got to share. We're getting ready. I mean, over the summer, we're working on getting ready for back to school. I can't even really say that because I feel like I shouldn't be saying that because we just got out. But we'll start back with teachers August 14th. So
Did you find another special ed teacher?
we did.
Oh,
We
good.
we poached a teacher from another school and she's going to be great. So
Oh, good.
yeah.
Well,
Yep,
good for you.
we've got one on board. So
All right.
anyway,
Okay.
yep.
Well, is
That's
there anything else anyone has? I just want to thank you all. I see now I'm getting choked up, but it is so touching to see these kids. I call them kids. Gad, when you're 78, everybody's a kid. But it's so fabulous to see these young men and young women go and get their degrees and move on. It's just I love every one of you. Every out there is just tremendous, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean that wholeheartedly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I guess you can all get for home. Well, some of us are already home, so drive careful going home.
Thanks for your support.
Thanks for all you do,
Okay,
Lynn.
Yep.
Thank you. Bye.
bye.